Welcome back, everyone. Sheepdog Smokey here, and we're seeing it again and again, so let's just jump on in. Anarchists flooded the offices of a Portland lawyer who represents the union for ICE agents. When I make a political statement, or when I make a political statement on behalf of a client, Sean Riddell says, I sign my name. You can see here of course, just criminal squatting across a train track, which is just idiotic as well. A Portland law office was trashed this weekend in an apparent attempt by an anonymous group of anarchists to intimidate a local lawyer who represents the union for officers at U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement. Last weekend, vandals pushed a garden hose through the mail slot at Sean Riddell's law office in northeast Portland, soaking the main floor and basement. The water sat undiscovered until 2:30 p.m. Sunday, 28th of April. The wood floor warped. Carpet in the basement was stripped. Drywall from the basement ceiling was yanked down in crumbling chunks. Large splotches of the concrete foundation are still wet. Riddell says the water caused thousands of dollars in damage, which will probably be covered by his insurance policy. He rebuked the vandals who flooded his office for their anonymity. When I make a political statement, or when I make a political statement on behalf of a client, Riddell says, I sign my name. The self-identified anarchist claimed responsibility in an anonymous email to WW earlier Monday morning. We decided to congratulate him on his new building by unraveling his garden hose, pushing it through his mail slot, and turning on the water, the anonymous email said. You can see here some of the damage. They targeted Riddell's new office in northeast Portland because, they say, he bought it with funds earned by representing the ICE union. Riddell and other lawyers he shares the space with moved into the building last November. The anarchists suggested their motive was to intimidate lawyers from working with federal immigration agents. Our goal was to cause maximum economic damage. That should serve as a warning to all individuals and businesses that profit off of the human misery perpetrated by ICE, the email said. And there's a link there to the email. I'm not going to dignify their idiocy by reading it all. Riddell represents the National ICE Council, which is the union for federal immigration officers. His clients filed a tort claim against the city of Portland after Portland police declined to intervene in protests last summer outside of a federal building where ICE agents work. They have not yet filed a lawsuit. The Occupy ICE protest camp shut down the building for several days until Federal Protective Service officers set up a police line to keep protesters away from the entrance and exit. The protest also caused some disruptions at a Tesla dealership near the federal building and spurred a week-long shutdown along a trolley track. Most of the anti-ICE protests in Portland have been nonviolent and often targeted buildings where federal immigration officials work, rather than individuals. Riddell says he wasn't feeling terrorized. I'm not a victim, he says. I'm just doing my job. Now, I want to just weigh in a little bit here on personal experience. I have been a firefighter. I was for several years before an injury caused me to have to stop. And I've seen damage like this before. Typically, this is due to a burst water pipe or something along that lines, where you get a lot of water into a space very quickly and it sits. Now, this was done deliberately. But you see, this can also damage the structural integrity of a building. What would have happened had someone opened a door and the frame collapsed on them and they were injured horrifically or killed? These anarchists would have become murderers. Beyond that, though, the idea and the mind frame that I can do whatever the hell I want and you can't stop me must be quashed very quickly. You see, this is going to escalate until we have arson, until we have cars driven through windows and walls of buildings, until we have people invading offices during office hours and killing people. Now, these supposed protesters, these anarchists, would have you believe that ICE agents are Nazi brown shirt, jackbooted thugs crossing the border to assault people and just harass them horribly, as opposed to enforcing federal immigration and customs law. And this is all perpetrated because people like Senator Kamala Harris, Senator Mazie Hirono, Representative Pelosi, Representative Waters, and so many more lie daily about the southern border, ICE agents, CBP agents, and Donald Trump. They would have you believe that these people are kept in worse conditions than the internment camps of the 1930s and 40s under a Democrat, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. They would have you believe that the conditions are worse than Auschwitz or Buchenwald, because in their agenda, now that Obama is no longer president, enforcing United States law is no longer allowed. They bring up things like putting children in cages, which was done under Obama, and I wouldn't even call the areas they were on cots in as cages as much as just fenced off areas. The photo they spread of a child crying as he stands in a very small caged in area was actually at a protest aimed at President Obama for ICE enforcing the law. Every single one of these people, if someone were to invade their local bodega, set up a camp and live there, well, no, that's just wrong. This is a private area. They can't just go anywhere they want. If someone was to invade their home and say, I'm claiming asylum here, you can't kick me out, that person would be all but thrown through a window. Defenestration for breaking and entering and harassing them. But you see, when they're far, far up north, living under a blue utopia where people can be reported for anything and anything at all, gun control is rampant, and so on and so forth, they don't care that we have thugs, rapists, murderers, drug dealers, and more spilling over the southern border. Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California just have to deal with it, because now that Donald Trump is in office, they are resisting. I'm personally waiting for a national emergency to be declared because of anarchists and thugs in masks like Antifa, and the National Guard to be federalized in some of these states to basically say, you're breaking the law, you are now in jail, and not have it be a civilian court that a liberal judge presides over, where he can just say, oh, they were just protesting. Unfortunately, it's going to take a very harsh response to all of this crap to wake people up to the fact that they can protest, but they cannot do it in any way they call a protest. Damaging property, assaulting people, harassing people, and so on are not protests. They are crimes. You can stand across the street from a business, hold up your stupid little signs, chant your inane little ditties, and try to get people to join your cause. But the very second you begin harassing, stalking, damaging property, assaulting, you cross the line into criminal behavior, like this. This lawyer now will have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to make a building he bought usable again, or it will be demolished and rebuilt, costing probably about the same amount. And when these anarchists are found, because you see the snarky little idiots don't realize things like IP addresses and fingerprints exist. And while they may have worn gloves, it will not be difficult to find an IP address pinned to an exact location, and if it is in a public place, get video footage of who sent the email. Once one of them is in custody, I guarantee you, they will roll on every one of their little co-conspirators in an attempt at a plea deal so they can stay out of jail. All of them, no one excluded, should be imprisoned for a time for their crime. Or a much better approach, in my mind, would be to have some very, sense of humor lacking drill sergeant type police officers supervise them as they help clean up the building, dry it out, and make it usable again, all on their own dime. Maybe if we went back to things like that, where, the days of, you broke so-and-so's window, you're going to pay for the window, and you're going to come help me put it into their house. Maybe if we went back to days like that, where they were forced to not only admit their crime and take their licks in court, but forced to actually help the person they harmed, we would see people stop the crap. And it needs to happen. I don't know if it ever will, because we have too many liberal loons on court benches all throughout the country. But I can hope. And I've talked about this long enough. Let me know what you think. Remember, as always, keep the comments civil. We learn only from debate, not argument. As always, please like, comment on, and share this video, as well as please subscribe and activate notifications so you're among the first people to know of new content as it is posted. Until next time, everyone have a wonderful day.